So, end of quarantine. What exactly going to happen to me as an athlete? So, what will our bodies look like after we leave lockdown? It's really two parts to that. Are we going to get fatter? Or are we going to maintain a certain amount of fitness? Welcome back to Immersive Sports Science. Sports Science, not Brian. Brian? What has Brian got to do with sports science? He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. Welcome back to the channel. If you like what you see, smash subscribe, smash that bell. Immersive Sports Science, not bro science. Now with this video, we're going to look at, or predict shall I say, the effects lockdown will have upon our health. Now I'm not necessarily talking about COVID-19 and the virus itself. What I'm referring to is the lack of movement or mobility and how that will affect people. Will we become fatter or will we become fitter? Now, the evidence seems to suggest that 60% of Americans, for instance, are going to increase in weight. And there's going to be a significant number of increasing. And we're learning about this on a day-to-day basis. And to bear in mind, I'm filming this and we're not actually out of lockdown yet. So it's going to be a while, and there's a lot of things we don't quite know. Three theories really to that. People engage more in activities and exercise. Maybe they perceive they have more time in order to do that exercise. But the amount of home workouts and exercise has very much increased, as well as with people actively and publicly wanting to show how they are engaging in exercise. It's one of the few things you're able to leave your house and do without breaking the curfew. They uptake positive habits, healthy habits, and that doesn't necessarily relate to exercise in itself. It could be, I don't know, painting Warhammer 40,000, but they help keep you engaged, help keep your mind engaged, help keep you active, and especially keeping physically active is also very important. So if you can combine those two, it'd be utterly brilliant. Not necessarily painting Warhammer 40,000, just having a hobby and keeping your mind active and keeping productive. Maybe you might be able to earn money during that time. For some people, that is a hobby and that is of interest to them. Obviously, keeping afloat and preventing fear, preventing anxiety, stress, which can impact upon your physical health, not just your mental health. The other option is that maybe we feel a little bit down, maybe we get a bit more sedentary, maybe we sit in front and watch Netflix all day. Netflix and chill. Maybe we do eat less, maybe we eat more, because the supermarkets are taking absolute banging at the moment. They've had their sales increase. Our online consumption has gone up by 66% per an average person worldwide, globally. So we are consuming more online data, more online content. When we go to the supermarket shelves are almost empty, where people are stocking up and stockpiling. Maybe you ration your food, maybe you keep it for longer, maybe you don't ration your food, maybe you're just, as you're closer to the food, you end up eating more. Maybe you eat less, but you're moving less, so you put weight on. There's all these different things you have to think about, but that's basically the second point of view. The third perspective is really a cop-out, and that both will happen. You'll see a number of people become larger, become more sedentary, uptake bad habits, and then you've got another group of people who maybe get healthier, may fitter, use this as an opportunity to seek positive health engagement. Alcohol sales have also increased by 15% in the UK, for instance. So people are drinking more, people maybe engaging in these activities, not necessarily wallowing in sorrow, but to take their minds off what is happening in the world. It's a form of escapism. Not necessarily a positive form of escapism, it's certainly not a way of self-appraising, reappraising the situation around us. But for some, they utilise that as to escape all the bad and dark news relating to COVID-19, not being able to work. The economy itself is probably going to be more at the forefront of everyone's mind, because it affects them every day, where COVID-19, with the exception of the quarantine, doesn't necessarily affect you every day unless you work in the health service or have someone who's currently suffering from the effects of COVID-19. Maybe they have the virus. Are we getting more sedentary, or are we going to get a little bit more healthier and fitter? But what will actually happen to our bodies when we leave quarantine, even if we're gauging in exercise, unless you're not gauged in exercise and then suddenly decide you're going to exercise more, you have less stress because you're not at work, anxiety, and you're able to utilize this opportunity to train, proper smashing it, proper beasting it, or maybe you're just moving around more and you're upsetting that caloric balance, then you are going to be healthier. You're going to be fitter. If you're overweight, you're going to lose weight. It also happens to what you're eating in the kitchen as well. But generally for most people, like myself as an athlete, if you're not training properly, your muscles start to become wasting a little bit. Your body has no need to store huge muscle. So therefore it breaks the protein down for what it actually needs to survive. If you're moving less, it doesn't need that muscle. It can store it as any extras as fat. So what we will probably see is, in terms of performance-wise, it's going to be a little bit harder when you start going back to the gym. When you start training properly on the field, the track, whatever it is you train. You're not necessarily going to be at peak fitness. It takes 2 weeks to lose quite a considerable modicum of your fitness you've built up. So for instance, myself as an athlete, we spend the entire winter training for the summer track and field season. But if I was to just spend 2 weeks off, that's practically my season out the way. Obviously, if you spend months and months and months off, then it takes it harder. But one key thing to remember, how muscle memory works. If you've done that exercise within relevant certain time periods, so say for instance, you're off for your quarantine, 3 months down the line, we're back training again, you're going to build up that fitness faster than what you would do if you were starting from a lower base, if you weren't training, if you spent years not training. You're going to find it a lot easier than those guys. So my advice is keep yourself fit as possible, keep yourself active as possible, keep exercising, and it will be easier when you come back. You won't be at the same level. It's unlikely you'll be at the same level unless you were overweight or obese and took up exercise during the lockdown. But you'll be able to build yourself up faster for when you do it, and we can reflect on the training, adapt the training, change the training for when you do come off quarantine or lockdown to best suit your needs to get yourself fitter faster. I'm Adam McCarthy, this is Immersive Sports Science, and what I want to know from you guys, how are you training? What imaginative or inventive ways are you utilising to train in order to keep your fitness? And second of all, which do you think will happen? Will we be healthier? Will we end up more sedentary, unhealthier? Or do you think a little bit of both will happen? Keep strong, guys. We'll get through this. This is Immersive Sports Science, not bro science. Smash the bell, subscribe. Out.